Hey, Bankless Nation, happy second week of October. David, what time is it?
It's roll-up time, Ryan, where we roll up the whole entire week of news in crypto, which is always an ambitious endeavor, yet we do it every single week here on the Friday Bankless Weekly Roll-Up.
Yeah, we've got some crazy headlines for you. One, Coinbase is rolling out an NFT program. What's that about? We're going to get into the specifics. Also, Hester Peirce, regulator who's been on Bankless before, just dropped a fire piece. Absolutely loved it. We're going to get into the details of that. And there's also rumor this week that Biden is going to issue some kind of executive order, maybe for crypto, probably against crypto, possibly. We're going to dive into what that could possibly mean. It's a rumor now, but there's lots to dissect there. All of this and more, that's what you're getting on the weekly roll-up. But David, I got to ask you before we dig in, man, how's your week going? I feel like we've had a great week. Is that just been me, or did we have a great week?
I had a fantastic week. There's a podcast that I listen to called Yang Speaks. Andrew Yang shows up every now and then, and it felt something similar like that this week, but it was a different format. I was somehow involved with this one. I don't know.
Yeah. Dude, guys, we got Andrew Yang on the podcast, is what David's saying. And it was a fantastic episode. We recorded this, I believe, on Tuesday. And, I generally don't get nervous about doing podcasts anymore. But some guests who've never done before, I get a little bit nervous prior to that. I was a little bit nervous going into the Andrew Yang conversation, and there was absolutely no reason to be. About a minute in, it just felt like talking to a regular person, and we definitely had a great discussion with him. That podcast is now, by the way, isn't it out? It's out for Bankless Premium subscribers.
Yeah, if you pay for Bankless, if you pay for the newsletter, it is out on the private RSS feed, so it's on your phone. It's also the videos on YouTube as well, so you can go watch that right now. And he dropped a fire line, which here it is.
What is there for, the crypto community in the Forward Party?
I want to make the Forward Party the crypto party, truly.
That is awesome, guys. And that is just a taste of what you are about to listen to with Andrew Yang when you get that podcast beamed into your ears. So we're excited to release that. We're also excited about the permissionless conference, David. So a new tranche of tickets just went on sale. If you recall, we've talked about this on the roll-ups every 2 weeks. A new tranche of tickets sell for permissionless. This is going to be the largest DeFi conference I think that's ever been thrown. And you still have a little bit of time because it's not until 2020. But you also don't have time because these tranches sell out fast, and every single tranche, the price goes up. I think the price is now up to $364, something like that.
Go up.
It started at $15, guys. Yeah. All right. So every 2 weeks, this thing is increasing. And if you don't do it now fast, probably as you're listening to it, probably this morning, tickets will sell out. So if you want to come to that conference, David and I are going to be there. More than that, we're actually helping to plan the entire agenda for the event, covering DeFi, covering the metaverse, we're covering regulatory landscape. It's going to be hot. A bunch of speakers have been listed, have been named, but we have a lot more to come as well. So make sure you pick up your ticket. If you are a Bankless Premium subscriber, you also get 30% off of that ticket. So we'll include a link to that in the show notes. Another perk of going Bankless Premium.
It's been a ton of fun working with the Blockworks team to organize this, and we are trying to make this the cultural event of 2020. The crypto, if you have ever gone to a crypto event before, you know what I'm talking about. And if you haven't, you should definitely experience it. But these events are festivals. They aren't conferences. They're closer to something like festivals. And so not only is there going to be the conference, but there's going to be a bunch of satellite after parties. We are going to throw an after party, and that is going to be a ton of fun. And also, we are looking for specifically DeFi apps and DAOs to help sponsor the event. We are holding back the floodgates of the CeFi companies and the centralized exchanges of the world to get their sponsorship slots. They all want them. But DeFi companies, DeFi teams, DAOs, they haven't had this opportunity previously with able to sponsor events. So if you are a DAO, be on the lookout for governance proposals in your governance forums about perhaps sponsoring the event. So stay on the lookout for that, because we want DAOs and DeFi teams, DeFi native teams, to help sponsor this event and push them before all the CeFi teams come and eat it all.
Also, last thing, guys, before we get into the meet today, our friends, a sponsor, Pool Together, they are back and they've just released the fourth version of their product. The fourth version, the best version of their product. Pool Together is a no-loss lottery, guys. It's one of the first DeFi apps to go tell your friends about because it's super easy. Like, look at this interface. Incredibly easy to just join a pool. And the best thing about it is when you join a pool, like, you can win the lottery. David, I have won the lottery before, okay?
Yeah?
I've won a Pool Together lottery.
Nice.
You know, not a lot of money, but I won something, and it feels good to win. All you have to do is put money USDC, for example, into the pools, and Pool Together takes care of the rest. It incentivizes you to save. So it gives you a prize based on that. There are some pool tokens that you can earn as well as yield. And their version 4 is really hot because there's now more prizes than ever. They're also releasing about $1 million worth of additional prizes. And you can do this all on layer 2 with near zero gas fees, transaction fees. And what they've done is they've combined the pools across like Polygon and Ethereum mainnet. So if you deposit on Polygon, it's the same as depositing on mainnet now. That is all new in version 4. So really hot. We're really excited to introduce Pool Together to you guys and their fourth and greatest version.
And important to know that when you win the lottery, you also get the cost of the ticket back. So this actually a very important point is that you aren't actually risking.
Not spending.
And you're not spending your money. You're not spending your USDC. You are putting your money into a pool with a chance to win, but you can always get your money back out. That's why Pool Together is so cool.
That's the no loss part, guys. So if you want to check that out, go to bankless.cc/pool together and you'll learn more about that. All right, David, you ready to do this, man? It's market time.
Market time. Yeah, that's a fun day to talk about the markets.
It is a fun day to talk about the markets. Okay, let's talk about Bitcoin. Bitcoin crept up to all-time highs, close to all-time highs this week. Am I right about that?
Yeah, pretty crazy, right? Started the week at $53,700, which was also the low for the week, and then it crept up to the high of $58,500, where the all-time high I think is a little bit over $60,000, and then we are currently at $57,220 overall, up 4% on the week. A nice week for Bitcoin.
How about Ether? Ether was lagging at first, but it seemed to have gained some ground over the last day, over the last 24 hours or so at the time of recording. Because
just in time to get into the weekly roll-up.
Yeah, it knew we were going to talk about this, you know, so it's pumping for us. So where did it start? Where did it end?
Yeah, started the week at $3,430, which was also the low for the week. And then it is currently at its high for the week, which is at $3,787. We did touch a little bit right over 3,800 just a moment ago, but that's where we are right now.
One of those up 10% days. You got to appreciate that in crypto. Also, how are we doing on the ratio? So this is the Ether to Bitcoin ratio. Always tells us a story. What's it telling us this week?
Yeah, painting a higher low over last week. The low for the last week was 0.06-ish, and we are currently clocking in at 0.066. And so, again, still in that range-bound area that we've been in for the past half a year now. But like I've been saying, a pretty high in the grand scheme of things versus Bitcoin.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know. Still, the rumor of a Bitcoin ETF continues to heat up. You know, people are saying October still might be the month for this. There's rumors of that. I'm not sure what I think yet, but that's why Bitcoin, it seems to have led so much. You have to wonder what's going to happen to this ratio if Bitcoin comes out with a powerhouse ETF. Will that leave every other asset in the dust and take all of the energy out of the other crypto asset markets?
Yeah, a funny story. I'm in just a group chat with all my friends from college, and I DM them. I was like, guys, I think the Bitcoin ETF might be approved in October, so I'm going to go long right now. And then they're like, you're going to buy Bitcoin? I'm like, no, I'm going to buy ETH. Because if Bitcoin gets the ETF, ETH is also going to pump.
Yeah, and it just might take some time. So I wonder if that happens. Do you think that happens immediately, or do you think there'll be some sort of delayed effect where Bitcoin has its run and then that cycles back into Ether and we get the same thing we've seen hundreds of times already?
Yeah, I think if Bitcoin gets the ETF, it'll have something like a 15% pump day. ETH will have maybe 10%. It'll definitely lag behind. But I think then right after the Bitcoin ETF, people then speculate, it's like, well, why not the Ether ETF? And so the Ether ETF won't be far behind.
Well, if the SEC is flirting with ETF approval, which I hope they are, total locked value in DeFi is also flirting with $100 billion locked. We're at $95 billion. So we can't yet celebrate, David. It's got to be like any time now, right?
Yeah.
Just give it a day.
Yep.
And that $100 billion mark might be reached. So close to all-time highs on that. Anything else to say?
God, if I see a 9 at this number this time next week in the roll-up, I'm going to be angry. I'm going to be upset.
Deserves to be higher. DeFi Pulse Index. How are DeFi tokens holding up? And this is, of course, are the top weighted DeFi tokens by market cap, those that have been around for 6 months or longer. There's some other criteria that go into this. How are we looking on the week?
Yeah, started the week at $336 for the DPI, hit a low of 305, hit a high of 352, and we are currently clocking in at $337. Overall, up 0.5% on the week. DeFi tokens just cannot catch a bid, man.
Do you know what's interesting, though? Because there's this whole narrative of like DeFi 2.0, right? We talked about it this week in our Tuesday State of the Nation with Jay from Rari Capital. This whole concept of DeFi 2.0 or Zoomerfi. Some people say this is just a new packaging for a narrative, for a new set of protocols, and it's just nothing more than narrative. You know, this is just sort of an evolution. Others say, like Jay was making the case, no, this is DeFi 2.0 reevaluates token economics and puts on the accelerator on some growth things that older DeFi has not. What's your take on this? Because DeFi 2.0 tokens, called the Rari Capitals of the world or the OHMs, they are not captured well in the DeFi Pulse Index, and they have been absolutely flying lately. Do you think this DeFi 2.0 narrative is a thing and a thing that's important and lasting?
I do think it's a thing. And actually, there's some bits of content that's coming down the pipeline to unpack what this DeFi 2.0 thing is. I had an hour-long conversation with Scoopy Trooples from Alchemix, who talked about this new primitive for yield farming that doesn't create toxic liquidity of people that just farm your token to death and then move on to a new farm. Instead, there is a new primitive, a new yield farming primitive, which is being spun up by Olympus DAO, who we're having on the State of the Nation on Tuesday, Zeus from Olympus DAO, to talk about this new primitive, which is being spun out of Olympus Pro. So Alchemix is changing its yield farm primitive to this new mechanism. And I talked about that with Scoopy. And so that show should be up on the YouTube sometime soon-ish, I think this weekend, perhaps tomorrow. And then we're going to unpack the whole entire thing with Zeus from Olympus Pro on the Tuesday State of the Nation. So tune into that.
We are digging into this DeFi 2.0 thing. So yeah, stay tuned to that if you want to make up your own mind and whether this is a thing or not. Let's check out the DPI index versus ETH.
Skip it.
We can't skip it. We're below 0.09 now, David.
Oh, God.
What are we looking at this week?
Oh, God. Yeah, 0.089. Just a straight linear chart downwards. Like,
sad.
Again, can't catch a bid, at least versus Ether.
Yeah. All right. Well, we don't have to belabor that point. Let's move on to the Bankless Bed Index. That is up on the week, I believe. Yeah. So what's where'd we start? Where'd we end?
Started at $153, hit a low of $143, hit a high of $167, which is roughly where we currently are right now. Overall, up 5% on the week. So global crypto markets in mean average up 5% on the week.
Got it.
Got it in the end.
Layer2beat.com. That's where we see this is kind of the new total locked value. This is the new DeFi pulse in some ways. At least this metric is going to be super important. It's at all-time highs. There's over $3 billion locked in layer 2. So we're not talking about side chains. We're talking about layer 2s that are actually secured by the Ethereum network. Now at all-time highs. It's pretty phenomenal. Great news.
Yeah, and I think this chart is just going to continue marching up and to the right.
It's Arbitrum. It's DYDX. Nice. These are the overperformers. Optimism hanging in there, but Arbitrum DYDX just crushing it recently with some of those numbers. It's great to see. David, let's talk a little bit about burn numbers, EIP 1559, because we just hit an important threshold. That is 500,000 ETH. Not $500,000 worth of ETH, 500,000 ETH, it's billions of dollars worth of ETH, have now been burnt, okay? We are just over 2 months into this thing, and we're talking about like 0.5% of the entirety of the ETH supply. So listen to that again. 2 months into EIP 1559, and we burnt just about half of all the ETH supply in existence already. What does that make you think?
Bullish? I mean, there's only one answer. Like, we're not even at proof of stake yet.
Right?
Like, man, we're burning way more ETH than we ever thought we would. And we're still in our proof of work form, which is issuing a ton. And it's absolutely insane. And like, we've been of the opinions that like gas fees on the Ethereum L1 are kind of like always up. Like, it's always going to trend upwards over time. And so like we are only going to burn more and more ETH. So congratulations to Ethereum. Wow, that we crossed 500,000 Ether this week. We're at 531,000 Ether.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ETH burns every day. ETH burns ETH every day, right? Like I feel like people need a reminder of this, David, right? Because like we're in crypto so often we want to chase narratives. We're just like, oh, what's the new bright, shiny thing? DeFi 2.0? Oh, okay. It's ETH killer. Which ETH killer this week? Where's the hottest yield farm? And that's cool. If you have time for that, like go do it, go pursue it, go try to make money that way. But in the background, what's happening with these core reserve assets, what's happening with Ether is it's just continuing to burn ETH according to usage. And it keeps getting used more and more and more. And you know I had to fit this meme in, David, because I like this meme. I was going to fit it somewhere.
Well, my eyes went to the alpha that's in your DMs right now.
Oh, shoot. Let me just close that real quick. I love that you waited until you're done to say that. Yeah, you know, got some alpha. That's only for YouTube viewers, though. People in the podcast are going like, what? What just happened?
Yeah, well, they also weren't able to look at the meme either, so.
True. Okay, well, let's explain the meme. It's Good Guy Greg, okay?
Right.
People don't remember this classic meme, but it's Good Guy Greg. And he's taking your ETH for gas, but then what's he doing? He's a good guy. He's burning it.
Yep. Giving it back in a roundabout way.
All right, David, this was an interesting report still in the market section, of course, report from CoinShares. And they asked the question of a whole bunch of fund managers. So I'm not sure how much money these folks managed. 400 billion. Okay, you know, respectable. $400 billion. Nice. Which digital asset do you believe has the most compelling outlook? This is based in a September 2021 study. Number one, Ethereum. Over 40%. Number two, a distant number two,
right.
Bitcoin, under 20%. And then we have multi-asset, which I don't know. And then what surprises me is like 12% Cardano.
Yeah, okay. See, like, while this percentage, while it's a great number, 40%, like, it believes for Ethereum is going to be the most growing platform. It just really just like takes the wind out of the sails when you see Cardano clocking in at 10%.
Well, you know, there's always some core fund managers who just have no idea what they're doing. But here's one of the takeaways is, what would this graph have looked like a year ago at this time, David?
Right, yeah.
What do you think it would have looked like?
Oh, well, it was in the middle of DeFi summer a year ago, so maybe you should be...
It was not ETH summer, though. Do you remember at the time, sure.
Even
Three Arrows Capital were like, DeFi is great.
Right, yeah,
but
okay.
ETH sucks.
It's talking about the asset.
Everything's going to Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We are talking about ETH, the asset. And I think the script and the narrative has completely changed over the last 12 months, particularly with institutional funds, right? ETH is now an institutional grade asset. I was thinking about Bitcoin and ETH. They're now in part of the same sentence. Every time when you see it listed, some investors is buying it. And that's a total change from where things were 12 months ago.
Hey, sometimes it's just Ethereum. There's plenty of instances I see where it's just like people, I think Ethereum's really awesome. And that's the full stop.
Yeah, full stop. How many people own crypto? I don't know if you've looked at this article yet, David, but I have. But I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna get your guess. What do you think is the total population that owns crypto worldwide right now? If you can see that, close your eyes.
Over 300 million.
Did you just read that?
Yeah.
All right. What percentage in America? Because you can't see that.
What percentage of America?
Yeah.
10%. 10%.
Yeah, about right.
Nice.
The numbers out now. You know, different groups have different numbers. I've seen the numbers for America at about 12%. But what's interesting about this is sort of ranks it by country, right? So 300 million people worldwide, 10% of all Americans own it. Say it's somewhere between 10 and 15% or so. Look at all of the people in India who are crypto users.
Wow.
Do that sort.
Wow.
100 million people in
That's
India.
Great. That's great.
Like, where's Bankless India, David?
Yeah.
We've been missing something.
That exists. Bankless India exists.
It does?
Yeah. I think so.
Who does that?
I think at least it's an Instagram account, Bankless India. Pretty sure.
We didn't even know. I mean,
yeah.
stuff like this pops up and happens and can happen without us, which is absolutely awesome. But I'm just saying, global movement, it's incredible to see the adoption. And across all countries, we're hovering at about 10%, which is really good. When we get to 20%, when we get to 30%, right? These are population sizes that governments and those in power can no longer ignore, because then to ban crypto or do something against crypto, you're actually you're impacting the lives of millions of your citizens, and potentially in India's case, hundreds of millions of your citizens.
Yeah. I would like to know how much of these percentages are people that own Bitcoin and Ether versus what I would call fake crypto, but I'll leave that topic for a different day.
Well, we don't know. Crypto. Put it in a big bucket there. ETH held by miners. David, this is an interesting chart. Do you want to explain this?
Yeah, so this is a chart looking at the supply of Ether held by known miner wallets. And ever since July of 2020, so a little over a year ago, it has been on a very steep incline. So it started in July 2020 at 8 million Ether held by miners, and now is basically climbed in a relatively linear fashion all the way up to 22 million. That's a really high number, especially for when the total supply of Ether is like 120 million. So there might be some interesting ways that Coinmetrics figured these numbers out. They might be inflated, but overall, directionally, I think is really what is the important takeaway here is miners are stacking ETH, which makes sense because they all know the merge is coming and mining will be defunct at some point. And so they need to retain their business. And how do they do that? Well, they stack as much ETH as possible. So when it comes time for proof of stake, they can just stake their ETH and go from a miner to a staker and actually not have to lose their business. This makes a ton of sense to me.
This is another reason why I've always thought the argument that, hey, miners, when you switch to proof of work, miners will just fork.
Right.
Well, no, they won't. They've known that this is coming, and many of them are highly invested in proof of stake at this point, right? They've been hodling their ETH for the day when it switches to proof of stake, and it looks like they're continuing to buy, continuing to hold their ETH for that eventuality. So they are part of the new community, the new staking community. Some of them will be stakers rather than miners, of course. David, can you explain this one from Justin Drake? Always throwing out the ultrasound stuff. What's he showing us this time?
Yeah. So this is a distribution of the average gas price inside of blocks, and so that the blue line is the average gas price. The red dash line on the left is the ultrasound barrier, as in how much gas prices need to sustain in order to be ultrasound money during proof of stake. Once we are at proof of stake, so if gas is higher than 27 gwei, we are burning more Ether than we are issuing. Currently, the average gas price for Ethereum is 77 gwei. And so Justin Drake's math is that we are at Mach 2.8, as in we are burning 2.8 amount of times the amount of Ether that we are issuing when we are under proof of stake. So fun little graph right there.
So what that means is once the transition to proof of stake happens, once the merge happens, likely early next year, maybe partially slipping into the second quarter of next year, anytime gwei price is above 27%, ETH is deflationary, or 27 gwei, excuse me. Right. ETH is deflationary.
I haven't seen ETH at below 27 gwei in like a year.
Right?
It's been
Those
so
are the
long.
Days. Yeah. Remember that? It's not going to drop either because rollups are going to consume it. Right. Obviously, we've had other NFT boom. All sorts of things will continue to consume it. It's not going down. That's for sure. All right, David. That has been the market section. Guys, we will be back with news. We will be back with releases, meme of the week, all the stuff that you cannot miss. But before we do, we want to thank the sponsors that made this episode possible.
Living a bankless life requires taking control over your own private keys. Not your keys, not your crypto. That's why so many in the bankless nation already have their Ledger hardware wallet, which makes proper private key management a breeze. But the Ledger ecosystem is much more than just a secure hardware wallet. Ledger is the combination of the Ledger hardware wallet and the Ledger Live app. And if you're used to seeing all of your crypto services and favorite DeFi apps all in one spot, Ledger Live is where you want to be. Not only does Ledger let you buy your crypto assets straight from the app, but it also hooks into all of the DeFi apps and services that you're used to. Using Ledger Live, you can stake your ETH in Lido, swap on dexes like Paraswap, or display your NFTs with Rainbow. You can also use Wallet Connect inside of Ledger Live to connect to all the other DeFi apps that keep coming online. DeFi never stops growing, and the Ledger Live app grows alongside with it. So click the link in the show notes to see all of the DeFi apps that Ledger Live has, and stay tuned as more apps come online. And if you don't have a Ledger hardware wallet, what are you even waiting for? Go to ledger.com, grab a Ledger, download Ledger Live, and get all of your DeFi apps all in one space. Arbitrum is an Ethereum scaling solution that's going to completely change how we use DeFi. And now it's live with over 100 projects deployed. Gas fees on the Ethereum L1 sucks. Too many people want to use Ethereum, and it doesn't have enough capacity for all of us. And that's why teams like Arbitrum have been hard at work developing layer 2 solutions that makes transactions on Ethereum cheap and instant. Arbitrum increases Ethereum's throughput by orders of magnitude at a fraction of the cost of what we are used to paying. When interacting with Arbitrum, you can get the performance of a centralized exchange while tapping into Ethereum's level of security and decentralization. That's why people are calling this Ethereum's broadband moment, where we get to add performance onto decentralization and security. If you're a developer and you want to save on gas costs and overall make a better experience for your users, go to developer.offchainlabs.com to get started building on Arbitrum. If you're a user, keep an eye out for your favorite DeFi apps building on Arbitrum. Many DeFi applications that are on the Ethereum layer 1 are migrating over to layer 2s like Arbitrum, and some are even skipping over layer 1s and deploying directly on layer 2s. There are so many apps coming online to Arbitrum, so go to bridge.arbitrum.io and start bridging over your Ether or any of the tokens listed, and start having a DeFi experience that you've always wanted.
All right, guys, we are back to tell you about the hot releases of the week. David, let's start here. NFT avatar support on ENS profiles. ENS, of course, is like the domain name for Ethereum. Lots of people have .eth addresses. Now they've added NFT avatar support. What's that mean?
Yeah, so you know those whole like generative little icons in MetaMask for your wallet, just to let you know, like putting a little color or image so you know what wallet is what. ENS is allowing you to put in a link to a file so that you can have a file represented as that little like icon of what your wallet is. And so when you type in an Ethereum address, a nice little icon can show up on wallets that support this. So that's pretty cool.
This is why I think, profile NFTs are not going anywhere, and they're only going to get stronger because we're going to find all of these new use cases for them because people want them everywhere. If you bought one, you want it everywhere, right? You might even put it on the wall behind you as you're recording a podcast.
Oh, that'd be weird.
Yeah, that'd be weird. Never do that. Let's talk about this. Flashbots Protect. Someone's going to protect us from the sinister MEV that is front running from miners and other entities. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so if you have ever logged onto a different EVM network via MetaMask, like by dragging and doing the whole drop down pointing to Polygon or Arbitrum or a testnet, this is one of those. It's an RPC endpoint and a few other things as well, but I feel like the most relevant thing is the RPC endpoint. So you can select a different RPC endpoint, and so it'll be routed towards this whole Flashbots Protect product, which will allow your transaction to be protected from some of the monsters that lurk in the mempool. And so that's pretty neat. This is new, so definitely do some research before you do this, and kind of do what I do, which is I just wait for other people to do it first. But overall, there's also a few other things as well, such as an API that developers can integrate into their applications to have this same sort of service. So if you want to learn more, check the link in the show notes.
That's a pretty good resource, though. May try it sometime. But yeah, like you, I'm kind of waiting for it to cook a little bit more. Speaking of cooking, Starkware has been cooking some things up. Starknet Alpha is coming to mainnet. You like that segue, David? So what this basically is kind of a holy grail that crypto has been waiting for and hoping for a while, at least, especially the layer 2 community. And that is the ability to have general purpose smart contracts on a layer 2. And this is a ZK rollup layer 2. And Starkware says they are shipping this in November. Okay? They got alpha now. When they ship it, my understanding, David, is it's going to be kind of a permissioned type of shipment. So similar to the rollout of Optimism, where it wasn't like everyone's here and it's just kind of an application at a time. but still, this is earlier than I thought. And we are going to have the Starkware folks on sometime in November to explain this in further detail. But I think that's what we're looking at here is the potential for smart contracts on a ZK rollup layer 2. I don't think it's going to be super seamless, like drag your app from mainnet into Starkware and it just kind of works like that. Right. Won't quite be like that, is my impression. But the fact that we are this close to this functionality is super exciting to me.
Yeah, and we're actually going to be able to see how easy it is for developers to get their application on a ZK rollup, which is a little bit more involved than an optimistic rollup. So that will be an interesting thing to watch, and we will definitely watch it.
And look, hey man, the tech is out there. It's already working. Starkware tech is what powers DYDX, yep. For instance, right? Many other exchanges as well in the space. Okay, Arbitrum is dialing it up as well. I feel like this GIF kind of summarizes. This is like this guy in a race car, and he's he's got wind resistance, and his cheeks are flying back. And it says my transactions after the Arbitrum Nitro upgrade. I think this upgrade, what it's going to do is just like drastically improve transaction speeds, transaction times, transaction volumes, and decrease prices on Arbitrum. Is that what's going on?
Yeah, that's exactly right. They are just upping the juice with Arbitrum. And that's the cool thing about these layer 2 rollups is they actually come on to Ethereum and they have their own, in addition to already being scaling of Ethereum, they have their own scaling roadmap in addition to that. So layer 2s only scale even more.
That's not here yet, and TBD on when that date is, but look forward to Arbitrum Nitro when that comes. Also, David, this is kind of cool. Tell us what this is. Is this some kind of a new DeFi wallet?
Yeah, it's a perhaps a MetaMask competitor, or overall just a new wallet plus ecosystem, a wallet ecosystem called XDEFI, which is now claiming to be the fastest wallet in DeFi. I've been having a ton of trouble with my MetaMask lately, so I could definitely use some alternatives. There were some grumblings in the greater community about how this wallet is not, their code hasn't been open sourced, which is kind of against the ethos and makes it hard to verify what's actually going on under the hood. But the team said that they will be ultimately releasing their code to be open source in the future, just not yet. Overall, if anyone has tried this out, ping us at Bankless and let us know.
Yeah, more wallets, all the better. I do think our existing wallet ecosystem could use some improvement, some user interface improvement. I know some of the troubles with MetaMask have been browser related as well, which has been somewhat frustrating. Chrome changes a few things and then you lose support in Chrome. I've had to use MetaMask with Firefox for a while now, but so much work could be done to smooth out the wallet experience across the space. So it's glad someone else is joining the fray here. Also, another options DeFi protocol joining the fray. What's this, David?
Yeah, Pods Finance on Twitter says, we are thrilled to announce the release of Pods on the Ethereum mainnet. So Pods is an on-chain options protocol that aims to bootstrap markets for any ERC20 token using an algorithmic pricing and specific options AMM. Basically, you can buy and sell puts, and you can also use Pods for yield. You can actually provide liquidity and get some yield, and that is now live on the layer 1, which is interesting. I kind of would expect something like this to kind of deployed on layer 2 first, but here it is on layer 1. So check that out at app.pods.finance.
Pods for puts, guys. There you go.
Nice.
Klima DAO. It's going mainnet. When's that happening?
Going on Polygon, yeah. Klima DAO and the Klima token go live on the Polygon mainnet on October 18th. That's this coming Monday. And so you can check out the announcement post for details. We did a Meet the Nation with Klima DAO. They're basically a fork off of Olympus DAO, but focusing on having carbon credits as their collateral. And so trying to sequester carbon using DeFi, so a very noble cause. And so if you want to find out more, there's a link in the show notes.
Is this DeFi 2.0, sir? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know.
I think it is.
I have no clue.
Maybe we don't know what DeFi 2.0 is yet,
knows.
And we're in the process of discovering it. Binance Chain is not DeFi 2.0, by the way. I do know that. But Binance has just launched a $1 billion, that's billion with a B, growth fund for Binance Smart Chain. And this just reminds me that the treasuries and the war chests are very, very deep when it comes to the crypto banks, particularly when they are trying to make their way into DeFi. And they are definitely not going anywhere. Binance Chain is not going anywhere, not because it's decentralized, but because it has the support of CZ and Binance behind it. What do you think about this, David?
Yeah, they're just like brute forcing the DeFi side of Binance Smart Chain. Like it is what it is. Yeah. Ultimately, they're just innovating on the EVM, so all the value ultimately flows back to Ethereum.
Yeah, hopefully some value will be produced here and it'll be a good thing. I don't hate it. I just don't love it. I do hate calling it DeFi though. And this like bastardization of the term like CDFI just really annoys me. But it's a large ecosystem. And if you don't like it, just ignore it. Don't use it. Last release of the week, Optimism has just updated their website and showcasing really all of the cool things they're doing. This is the optimistic roll-up on Ethereum called Optimism. David, what are we looking at here?
Yeah, they just have a little like a scroll or carousel of all of the applications that you can play with on Optimism. So it's going to be fun watching this number grow. Quenta, I think, is the newest one as well. I did a Meet the Nation with Quenta, which should be up on the YouTube right now to let you know that Quenta is actually doing its own thing out of synthetics. And so that is worth watching as well. And they are on Optimism. And that's the news.
Uniswap, Synthetics, Lyra, Rubicon, Quenta, and 1inch. 1inch is a recent one as well. Very cool to see that growth. Raise time. Consensys is raising. So these are the makers of MetaMask and many other tools. They're kind of OGs in Ethereum. They're raising $65 million, I believe, at a $3 billion valuation. So a big raise for them, big valuation for Consensys. I guess good to see more money come into the space.
I wonder how much this $3 billion valuation rides on the back of MetaMask just absolutely printing money with their swap feature.
Look at this.
Because they are just like raking it in with that one application, right? There's definitely other applications that are definitely making a lot of profit for Consensys, but like Consensys kind of was critiqued with like spinning out 1,000 projects all at once, and then 5 of them being successful. Those 5 have been really successful. So congratulations to everyone at Consensys on that $3 billion valuation.
Well, yeah, it's like the baby turtles, rushing towards the sea before they get eaten by the birds, right? You have tons of turtles, so hopefully some of them will make it to the sea and some of them will survive. That's sort of Consensys strategy. Look,
also, if you want to go long on MetaMask, speculation that there's going to be a token, which there's not yet, but the native swap feature for MetaMask is an on-chain footprint that MetaMask can find its users by. So if you want to speculate on whether or not there will be a MetaMask token, go use the swap feature.
I want to speculate on that, David. 9 billion in trades through MetaMask, which is absolutely blew me away that feature would be so popular as well, as you said.
I used to use Matcha, and I love Matcha, and I use Matcha all the time, but I've been using the MetaMask swap feature just on the speculation.
Have you really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's just quicker, more convenient?
No, it's basically the same.
Same price,
in fact, engine. I kind of actually prefer the Matcha UI and the engine. They have more features, but if there's a token at the end of my MetaMask swap, I want surface area to that. So
we don't know that, to be fair, but yeah,
we do not
definitely
know that.
A high contender. Another big raise this week, Gelato just raised $240 million. Led by Insight Partners. It's a lot of money.
Number.
What are they doing?
Big number. Yeah, Gelato is smart contract automation. As a non-developer, this has been kind of confusing for me. But basically, there are some smart contracts that need to be poked or interacted with in order to make them execute. And Gelato is doing smart contract automation. Kind of feels like smart contracts for smart contracts. If I was a developer, I wouldn't be able to explain this a little bit better, but I'm not. So
the way I think of it, I have no idea if this is right or not, is like an if this then that sort of system for smart contracts. You kind of wire these smart contracts together, but do not know. It's a lot of money. They're doing something big here. We'll see. Yeah, congrats. Paradigm just raised $1.5 billion too. We've had people from Paradigm on a number of times. Really smart investment shop. I think one of my favorite VC shops in the space. They just from a thinking perspective and the value that they add their portfolio, $1.5 billion, okay? This is on the back. Do you remember, was the A16Z in their crypto fund? They just raised $2 billion, $2.5 billion, something like that, okay? So much private money, venture capital is going into crypto at this point in time. So people are looking at like the private market for these deals. Like the private market is absolutely crazy. Like buying some of these investments before they tokenize or before they go public, the valuations are sky high. And it's because all of this money is pouring in. Anything else, David?
Yeah, the great thing about Paradigm is that they use this money to fix some of the most core fundamental problems about this industry. They, Dan Robinson apparently built Uniswap v3 himself. I don't know if that's true, but they are also working to solve MEV and some of these just core hard problems. So when I see a $1.5 billion going into Paradigm, I see $1.5 billion of like just problem solving in DeFi. So
yeah,
that's awesome.
It's really good. And who else do they have, David? The savior of DeFi, white hat.
Oh, Sam Z Sun. Yep.
Sam Z Sun, of course.
Yeah.
He works at Paradigm as well.
Put money into him, man.
Him alone. I mean, that's like, that's worth a third at least, $500 million in terms of protection for DeFi. All right, let's talk about this. Merit Circle. They just announced the closure of a seed raise round of $4.5 million. So this reminds me sort of like YGG, sort of one of those gaming guild type of concepts. I think they provide scholarships to maybe many Axie Infinity gamers. So this is another play on crypto gaming. I think we'll see a lot more in that space to come too. This next one, David, Moonpay. This is a crypto payment startup. They're just valued at $3.4 billion. And this is after their first funding round. So you guys said these private valuations are getting absolutely insane. If you think CoinMarketCap is crazy, right? And the top 20 list, the private valuations are getting similar. This is a $400 million round. And I think what they're doing is this sort of similar to Ramp? We were talking about their raise last week.
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Fiat on-ramp to crypto.
Yep. Which, I mean, it's important. Is it $3.4 billion? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. I'm sure, somebody has thought that through, right, David?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Right? Definitely. The market would never be irrational.
That's right. Zora is a decentralized open marketplace. So I think of this as maybe a bit more of a decentralized OpenSea, although what does decentralized even mean in this case? Right. But one thing that they're doing is 0% fees on all of the NFTs that they sell inside of their marketplace. And it is entirely permissionless and also on chain. Zora says it's how marketplaces should be. But that 0% fees thing is certainly very interesting and very attractive. So this is maybe a bit more of an open system, pushing against OpenSea's massive dominant market share. And I am happy to see more competition in the space. The thing Zora did recently is they only used to have these Zora items, right? Things that were launched inside of Zora. And now more recently, they've added the ability to add all of these other collections like art blocks and, everything from super rares and me bits and Bored Apes and everything else that you find. And you could purchase it without a commission fee. So seems interesting.
OpenSea is a great platform, have nothing against them except for the fact that there's only one of them. So having Zora open up this world into having some competition, and it's actually not the only one this week. We'll be talking about another one here shortly. But yeah, congratulations to Zora.
Let's also talk about TradingView, David. That's a charting platform. I know, like you're a power user, right? You do your TA, you do your triangles. I've seen you from time to time.
Draw some shapes here and there. Connect some dots.
I've seen your shapes. Yeah,
right.
It's looking great. So they just raised $298 million at a $3 billion valuation. I guess everybody's the unicorn now. Right. Who cares about unicorns? Remember that? Right. Remember unicorns? That was a big deal.
What's $1 billion anymore?
What's $1 billion? Another billion. Anyway, this is kind of cool. I guess this is all about amateur traders. The amateurs are becoming the professionals, I think.
Yeah, and TradingView has an increasingly higher percentage of people that are looking at crypto stuff. So that they've been pushing up the crypto to the front, more and more to the front of their offering. And so TradingView is kind of just becoming like CryptoView.
TradingView equals CryptoView because you're doing all your trading in crypto these days. If you're anything like us, if you're also like us, you probably want a job in crypto. This is your weekly reminder.
Weekly reminder.
Tell them.
Get a job. Get a job in crypto. It's better. Whatever. I'm sure your job is great, but your future crypto job will be a lot better. It's just the vibes are better. The work culture is better. You probably get to work at home. You probably get tokens depending on what job you apply for. And so go to pallet.xyz/list/banklist/jobs, or go to the link in the show notes to go get a job. Ryan, what are some of the jobs that we got on the board today?
We got a CTO on the board today.
Woo!
From
Agronom.
Agronom. Sorry, Agronom. That is just difficult for me to say. CTO role, though, that's a premium role right there. General counsel at Smart DeFi, also finance and operations, senior backend developer at Smart DeFi. You could be a technical CTO for 6 months at Merit. You could be a community manager at Argon. You could be a founding blockchain engineer, a founding one at that at Highlight. Senior software engineer, Popcorn, community lead, Popcorn, senior front-end web developer. Here's what crypto needs, okay? It needs developers and it needs community builders. Those two skills, it also needs, by the way, like managers, operators, project managers. That's what you see represented on the Banklist job board. And these skills are probably skills that many of our listeners have. I know we have developers listening to this. I know we have people who are highly organized, ability to put together projects. They're looking for people who, quite frankly, listen to Banklist, David. I've heard people in job interviews, this has come up, what do you read about crypto? How much do you know? What information do you consume? And when you tell them Bankless, it's going to get you positive marks. So you're already doing part of this by listening to Bankless right now. So why not take the next step and see what's out there in the job market? I don't feel like I'm working anymore. Do you?
No. No.
What is it? It's not work. What do we do here?
Well, for some reason, I'm doing whatever it is I'm doing for 12 hours a day, but it's some combination of work and fun. And that is the whole point about working in crypto is it's more of just a vibe. It's definitely a work hard, play hard environment. And it's not ever work and it's not ever play. It's something in the middle.
Yeah, it is something in the middle. There's got to be a new term for that, but I don't know what it is. But
vibe.
Yeah, vibe. Vibe it out.
Vibe for now.
All right, guys. We're jumping on the news. We got 3 big things to hit. First, Coinbase NFTs. Second, Hester Peirce's speech. Third, what about Biden? Is he going to crush crypto? Let's start with the first, David. Coinbase NFT. It's coming soon. They're starting an NFT marketplace. You can join the wait list. Brian Armstrong tweeted out, they've got 1 million people already who have joined the wait list, excited for what Coinbase is going to do in the NFT space. What's happening here, David?
Yeah, so they are making a competitor to FTX's NFT platform. So this is a centralized NFT platform with that's hooked right into Exchange where you already have your crypto monies. And so now Coinbase is basically making a competitor to OpenSea that is much more centralized, I guess. Custodial OpenSea. And I think that's it's just going to do a lot of onboarding efforts, right? And
so David, we don't know whether it's going to be purely custodial or not, do we? I mean, to be fair, at least I don't. It doesn't say it in this.
I would guess that it is.
Definitely, I understand that assumption, but we don't know for sure, right? This could be also non-custodial, and they could be minting on layer 2. They could be minting on Ethereum. It could be through their non-custodial Coinbase wallet. One thing they will have that OpenSea doesn't, when we talked to Devin about this, Vinzer from OpenSea, is Coinbase has a fiat on-ramp. Right? And OpenSea is just, you start with Ether, you can't on-ramp. So Coinbase has that advantage out of the gate. But I'm actually excited to learn about how this is going to be built because we don't know all the details yet.
Yeah, if you can put an NFT on a credit card via Coinbase, that would be kind of cool, actually.
Do you remember? So back
also
in,
dangerous. Also dangerous.
Some people are saying this feels like when Coinbase first listed ETH back in 2016, right? It's kind of a mainstreamy moment, I suppose, for Ether as an asset. Prior to that had been Bitcoin, maybe some other assets. Coinbase is definitely jumping into this because NFTs are here to stay and they are mainstream. And Coinbase wants a big part of this market. So we'll have to see. Actually, Brian Armstrong is coming on the podcast, by the way, guys. Yeah.
Oh,
we scheduled it.
That's great.
So we're going to be talking about this. I'm sure we'll talk about this. I'm sure we'll talk about regulatory matters. A lot to talk with Brian about. We've never actually had him on the podcast, so excited about that. Anything else?
Good timing to talk about that with him post launch of this NFT platform. It also looks like it's going to be a social media platform too. So you get a profile with a name, and you can follow people, which is interesting. So Coinbase not only getting into NFTs, but also getting into social media. That's a big move.
It's a big move. Very cool. Over 1 million people signed up now. Of course, another big move is Hester Peirce's speech. So Hester Peirce, SEC commissioner,
crypto mom,
is one of 5 SEC commissioners.
7,
5 or 6. Is it 7?
You keep talking while I look that up.
Well, David just called her crypto mom, and she would be fine with that. We actually asked her when she came on the podcast, and the reason she is crypto mom, and the industry has 5. David's saying 5 SEC commissioners. The reason the industry has deemed her crypto mom is because she has been supportive of the values that the crypto industry is trying to provide. She has engaged with the crypto community, not treated us as outsiders and scammers and children, not patronizing, actually like digging in. And so we had her on the podcast, I guess, earlier this year. And I think this was before we knew, it was definitely before we knew what Gary Gensler, what his reaction was going to be. And
it was back when everyone was optimistic about Gary Gensler.
We asked her, and I remember it's like, we're kind of like trying to feel around, Commissioner Peirce, do you think Gary Gensler is going to be helpful to this industry or not? And I don't think genuinely she knew, right? And she didn't commit. And she said, we will get clarity. Is one thing we'll get. I recall her saying that.
I kind of miss the old days now.
You want the non-clarity part?
Yeah, no, I'll go back. I'll take it back.
Let's get to the speech though, because this speech was fire. Like, absolutely. This was at the Texas Blockchain Summit. She came there, she talked. And the analogy she used, David, the West.
Going west.
Okay? We are headed west. She talked about a book that she read called The Pioneers, about the early, I guess, settlement of the West, and how people moved from the East. You know what? I'm just going to read some quotes here because I think it's that good. The settlers who moved west came not only with high expectations, but with a whole range of talents and professions. They cultivated other skills by necessity after they had arrived. The society was rougher than the one they had built, but nevertheless, it was governed by the societal norms they carried with them, by law and by mutual concern, heightened by the difficult conditions in the early years. And she goes on, she talks about how the people who are headed west were headed to escape kind of the paralyzed, stifled, stymied East Coast elites, basically, where there's no opportunity for them. That's why they were going to greener pastures and settling new lands and establishing cities, okay? So she paints this whole story and she says, I am, part of that story, Ohio, that's where I lived, that's where I kind of grew up, that's where I went to school, that's what America's tradition has been. And then she pauses and she says, guess what? Crypto's doing the same thing. It is the journey west. It is the modern journey west that the crypto industry is on. And she says, sure, it's home to a lot of code slingers, she says, and speculators and some hucksters too. This new west has all sorts of fights. Friendships are forged. And she says, it's just like the west of the past. There's rough and tumble, but so much value and so much good is being created there. And then she goes on to say, do we really have legal clarity around digital assets? I think some in her, in the regulatory bodies would say, that's perfect legal clarity, right? I've heard these statements like, of course we know what a security is in crypto, right? 1946, Howie, define, like, it's obvious, should be obvious what's a security. And she said, I don't know. Do we really have legal clarity? And then she says, are we enforcing rules by settling or settling for ambiguity? So what we want is clarity. Are we settling for ambiguity? She poses the question. Are we fighting for investors or fighting for jurisdiction? Wow, that's powerful. Mm-hmm. She's asking the question. This is a regulator. Are we protecting investors or denying investors opportunity?
Oh, God.
Okay. Right? These are the speech headlines, okay? You guys have to go read this entire speech. Are we going to pretend everything is centralized so we can regulate it? Hitting hard. Yes.
This is so awesome. This is
It's
great.
amazing. Are we catching bad actors? Are we creating a catch-22? Are we creating conditions where it's like impossible to identify the bad actors and where everyone's a bad actor? And she goes on, her conclusion, okay? This is the best part, her conclusion. Actually, the whole speech is the best part. But she ends with this. To paraphrase the standard closing words of a popular crypto podcast, which follow an appropriate warning about the riskiness of the space, we are headed west. This is the frontier. It's not for everyone. ... And then she says, thank you for allowing me to drop in on your journey west. That footnote, if you go and click there, who she quoted? Bankless, weekly roll-up YouTube,
The
October
last
8th,
week.
2021.
Wow. Dude, I have chills right now. Wow.
Right?
That is crazy. And that
Commissioner
is why
Peirce, if you or your office is listening, this is why we are so appreciative of the work that you're doing. You are asking the questions that other regulators have not been willing to ask of their agencies and of their approach on this space. And we sincerely appreciate it. I sincerely appreciate this speech. You are saying far more eloquently everything we had hoped to say to this industry and the regulators. And this is posted on sec.gov as a speech, a commissioner's speech. Powerful stuff. Sorry, David. I wanted to go through all of that. It's just such a hot speech. I just love it.
Yep. No, it definitely feels like the whatever we talk about on Bankless is coming out of the words of Hester Peirce in one of the most important rooms in the world when she was giving that speech. And I think my one comment about this thing, it's not just arguing about the technicalities, about clarity and like rules and these catch-22s. It's also talking about the culture, right? She's talking about crypto culture and why we want to go west in the first place. Like why are there these motivated groups of internet code slingers, which is a great name?
Awesome.
And why are they motivated to be crypto people at all? Why are they motivated to go to the metaphorical frontier of wherever that frontier is, which is no longer anywhere except now it's on the internet? Why are these people motivated to escape the perils of already instantiated society? Well, because no one feels free anymore. Everyone has this motivation to go westward and escape the problems of Eastern society, of rules and regulation and tyranny, right? And so she gets the cultural aspect and talks about like, I hope people listening to the speech ask themselves the questions, why are there these deeply motivated people who are going on this westward journey? Because if they can answer that question, maybe they can come to terms with some of the better strategies to regulate this industry.
Well said. Well said. There's more we could say, but I think what you should do is take some time to read this entire speech. David, third thing of the week, is Biden going to crush crypto? I guess that's a question outstanding. I can't pull up the Bloomberg article right now, but there has been talk of an executive order that Biden and the White House are creating to provide some oversight on everything in the crypto markets, everything that's going on. What this executive order might be, people are speculating. Perhaps it's sort of an executive order to all agencies to go do some more research and go, ask some other questions. But one of the issues that they have identified is there's no overarching, crypto czar, as they called it in this Bloomberg article, somebody that spans all agencies and can look at this industry and what's going on in crypto holistically, right? And what's interesting is this comes on the backdrop of a lot of executive branch regulatory agencies that have been particularly aggressive to crypto lately. At least it seems that way, coming from the SEC, coming maybe from other agencies as well, Treasury with the recent bill injecting that language in the infrastructure bill, for instance, right? So we're, those in crypto are kind of bracing themselves for like some not good news. Now, it doesn't mean there's going to be immediate executive order to do all these things. There'll probably be research first. But it was crazy. What struck me from this article, David.
Let me read the paragraph because I know where you're about to go with this. Read the paragraph,
okay? Because this is crazy. Go ahead.
Okay, so the paragraph is Tim Wu, a special assistant to the president for technology and competition policy, has knowledge in the area being crypto, but is recused from working on crypto because of his personal holdings, which included between $1 and $5 million in Bitcoin and as much as $250,000 in Filecoin as of when he filed his financial disclosures earlier this year. So there's one guy in the White House that owns a bunch of crypto, and he had to recuse himself from even being a part of this conversation as to what this executive order might look like. The one person in the White House that holds and therefore probably understands crypto can't partake in the conversation. Whoops. Uh-oh.
This is what's hilarious to me. This is the irony, right? Because the article concludes with that, and it says basically that the trouble the White House is finding is we can't find anyone who knows anything about crypto except this one guy, Tim, and Tim can't do it because he knows about crypto and he already owns
bullish.
it because he knows about it. Yeah. Nobody else knows about it. The one guy who knows about it, of course he owns crypto.
Right.
Because he knows about crypto.
The most bullish thing about crypto is to be understood. The guy that understands it is bullish and can't guide legislation.
Talk about catch-22s. Because if anyone actually understands crypto, I would argue that they therefore become bullish enough to actually own some, to actually buy some crypto. Mm-hmm. And if they buy some crypto, they have to recuse themselves from the process of being a crypto czar and actually informing policyholders of it because they're biased.
The logical conclusion of this is just hilarious, right? And so, like, if you just extrapolate this out, like, the only people that are allowed to, like, make policy are people that are invested in dollars, right? Like, you only have dollars in the bank
stocks,
account.
And the banking system, the existing banking system. Uh-huh. These are the people without bias.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy. Absolutely backwards.
Well, you know, you and I, none of our listeners could ever, I guess, do this job because we all own crypto assets. Mm-hmm. Yep. And so I think they're going to find an increasingly shrinking pool. But I guess the tragedy of this is what they have to do is find someone who doesn't know about crypto or, like, I guess feels like maybe they missed the boat on crypto. And, some people get bitter from that experience, right? Yep. And it's likely they're pulling from that pool of candidates, the person who's going to regulate crypto, somebody who maybe already hates it.
Right. Oh, you guys got a 10,000x gains on your crypto? Well, I didn't. I'm going to regulate that until it goes back down to zero.
This is the problem, guys. So yeah. I don't know how to solve that. I understand there are things like conflicts of interest you have to deal with, but to know crypto, I would argue, is to be bullish on crypto. And what are you going to want to do? You're going to want to have some allocation of your portfolio in it. So what do we do about that?
This is why government can't attract talent, because if you want to express your talent and, like, generate wealth and capital, government is like, well, no. Crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy.
All right, let's get to some Ethereum stuff. Those are our leaders, but let's talk about German auto firm is becoming the first European EU auto firm to use the Ethereum blockchain to finance cars. What's going on here?
Yeah, so in the press statement, the Germany-based firm noted that the move aims to eliminate all the paperwork in facilitating its core business of car financing, which is interesting because this is DeFi, crypto, Ethereum, actually executing on the original vision of the internet, which was totally to remove pen and paper from all offices, except, like, that never actually happened. And the reason why that never happened is because we didn't have crypto. We had our traditional pen and paper based financial system. And so the internet never actually made offices paperless anymore. But now we can with crypto. And so I think this is just going to be the first of many companies to start to use Ethereum smart contracts to finance stuff. So they're not using DeFi, they're using custom-built smart contracts. But the point is they're using smart contracts in the original way that they were intended as contracts between two counterparties.
Yeah, it's so true, David. Like all of the pen and paper stuff that we see nowadays, right? That's going to be programmatically driven in the future. It's going to be smart contract driven, right? So, like, we think right now, what's a digital contract? Well, that's a PDF you receive on DocuSign and you can sign digitally. Now, not in the smart contract world. Right. In the smart contract world, that document doesn't even exist because the majority of it is code and is actually executed on a blockchain somewhere. So it's cool to see somebody getting back to those roots. Polygon is hitting its minimum, it's increasing its minimum gas price by 30x. And this is in a bid to foil spammers, is the article title. What's going on with Polygon, the sidechain?
Yeah, last week was the monolithic blockchain week, and this is another tip of the hat to how if you just have a juice up blockchain, you ultimately are going to collapse back down to a database, or you need to increase fees. And so you have to increase fees if you want to preserve any amount of decentralization. And so that is what Polygon ultimately was forced to do, because if you have very, very cheap block space, spammers and people can just throw in trash into your chain because you don't actually have any way to meter consumption. And then if you want to do that sustainably, you have to go back to a database, or you increase fees to make actually spamming the chain really, really expensive. And so Polygon has chosen the commitments towards staying decentralized by increasing fees. And I bet you this is actually not the last time that they actually have to increase fees. I think we're going to see this happen again in the future.
My understanding is actually they're going to turn this over to a mechanism. So this time they did it sort of manually by increasing gas price fees, but they're going to have like a mechanism like EIP 1559 that's going to sort of mechanistically increase or decrease gas fees based on demand. So it'll get smarter in the future. Cool. But yeah, I mean, you have to increase gas fees or else these systems do not work in the long run. This is an interesting conundrum that Maker is starting to ponder as well. Where do they pay taxes? Where does the MakerDAO pay taxes? What jurisdiction does it belong to? The Maker Foundation has dissolved, of course, and what's left is this protocol. Geography unknown, geography internet. So they're having this debate, David, in their forums about how do they address kind of the tax issue, right? Do they just get ahead of this and say, yes, we are an American registered C Corp, right? Or an LLC or something. Well, then they'd be subject to the laws of the US, and the laws of the US don't handle DAOs very well. They'd be treated as a partnership. Do they pick another territory and try to get ahead of it that way? Do they wait for the jurisdictions to come to them and say, 10, 15 different jurisdictions say, oh, yes, I see you have members in France, and the Spanish government comes in Spain, and the IRS comes and says you have people in America, and they all claim territory, and they all try to extract tax from MakerDAO. So what does it do about this? And the forum post is interesting because they don't really have a clear answer because there is no regulatory clarity or regulatory status for this new internet native institution that they are running right now. Quite the conundrum.
Yeah, listeners might be asking themselves, why does a DeFi app even want to care about paying taxes? Like, isn't the whole point supposed to be like you're actually not domiciled anywhere, you're domiciled on the internet? MakerDAO is a little bit of a different case because MakerDAO wants to include real world assets into its collateral, into its vaults, right? And so if you have real world assets somewhere, well, those exist in jurisdiction. So MakerDAO has always had as part of its just like vision to be integrated into the real world, which then kind of lends itself like, all right, well, where? And so that conversation shall continue.
Yeah, it's definitely a conversation that many of the DAOs are starting to have right now in MakerDAO because it is most mature is having it first. More good news from the devs, the protocol devs of Ethereum. What's this news here, David?
Yeah, I was joking about this with Anthony Cesano. This is just that time of the year where all the Ethereum developers get together and they make all their clients speak to each other. We talked about this on the ROLLUP last week. For the non-technical people, the vibe is just like, oh yeah, you see all the developers smiling and clapping and looking at code on a screen. So like, hey, yay, the developers are happy. The developers are doing things and they're happy. And also, this is just a really cool picture. You have all these different client teams all looking at the same screen, all like taking photos, just clapping, being happy. It's like a nice cultural event. And then you also, of course, have Vitalik right in the middle, doing the classic Vitalik pleased clap.
Vitalik, it must be pleased, and he should be pleased. This is happening very fast. Looks like it's going very well. And this is all the march towards the merge, which is ever so important for Ethereum. Visa, in other news, moving beyond Ethereum, they are launching an NFT program as well. What's this?
Yeah, so they are not sending NFTs through the Visa Payments Network. That's not what's going on.
yet.
It's more of like a NFT incubation studio.
Yeah.
They're trying to just help support artists and celebrities and people do NFT stuff, which is an interesting like divergence from their core competency, their core business model. But I'm into it.
I feel like one thing Visa is trying to say is like, hey guys, we like crypto. We're serious about it. Right? They just like buying a CryptoPunk, releasing white papers about new crypto interoperability protocols. They're just like, hey, we believe in crypto. We think it's the future. We want to be part of it. Right. So good positive vibes coming from Visa these days.
Positive vibes, yeah.
What about this? Crypto startup crypto startup strikes a deal with Viacom, CBS. Wait, that could lead to SpongeBob and South Park NFTs?
Yeah, dude. Yeah. So we talked about this, I think, 2 rollups ago. Steve Cohen, that billionaire, is invested in this NFT platform. And apparently this NFT platform got linked. Billionaires, they tend to have connections. Yeah. And so they linked him to Viacom CBS. Right. Yeah. And so the studio that owns the rights to SpongeBob and South Park might issue NFTs. Importantly, and this is where I'm going to get emotional here. They brand themselves, the NFT studio brands themselves as a multi-chain studio, right? We'll issue NFTs on all the chains. I'm going to swear, so turn it off if you have kids. If they list the fucking SpongeBob NFT anywhere that's not on Ethereum, I will actually die. Because if the SpongeBob NFT gets minted and on Ethereum, I'm literally selling an unreasonable amount of my ether to buy that SpongeBob NFT. And this is how NFTs works, right? Everyone is skeptical on NFTs until some NFT comes that like they actually really, really want. You must list the SpongeBob NFT on Ethereum or I will die. Whoever has a connection to this NFT company, please get me in contact with them because I want that SpongeBob NFT and it needs to be on Ethereum.
How are you going to die? Are you just like going to die of a broken heart? You're just going to give up on
just heart
means a lot
failure.
to you.
Broken heart. Yeah.
It'd be a shame if they did that. If you're going to do this, do it right. So maybe somebody from Viacom is listening to us right now. Don't kill a man. Don't kill David. Okay, he's a valuable co-host. We need him for the bankless revolution that is coming. All right, just issue your NFTs in the right place. Put them on Ethereum or Layer 2.
My mom was very strict about no TV at the dinner table. But she always made the exception for Saturday morning SpongeBob. And so, SpongeBob holds a very close place in my heart.
There you go. All right. Some of these NFTs are launching tokens, though. Cyberkongs, Bored Ape Yacht Club. Why are they doing that? What do you think about it?
Yeah, why are they doing that is probably just financial incentives, right? So like if you have a community of Bored Apes or you have a community of like the Cyberkongs and these things become really, really valuable, can you just mint a token and that is like the currency for this NFT thing and have that be valuable? Is it like a
governance token though? Like
maybe it can be
what the community does next.
Can be whatever it wants, right? And so imagine if all these Bored Apes or these Cyberkongs all collectively had like a currency that had like a $50 million market cap that therefore is their treasury to do stuff, right? And so NFT projects are issuing currencies. Yeah. And so I have a take on this later in the show, but more or less it's like, well, we're kind of creating like our own like civilizations, right? Like we have our people, we have our societies, there are the profile pictures, and now we have the money. What happens next?
A Bored Ape Nation, Bored Ape society,
Nation,
basically.
Yep.
Yeah, it could happen. ERC 721s, they can't resist the ERC 20s, can they? No one can. Matt Hogan says, the New York Stock Exchange just filed for a Bitwise Bitcoin ETF. That's cool. A Bitcoin ETF, New York Stock Exchange. All right. And it holds not futures that are settled in some other currency. It would hold actual Bitcoin. And Matt goes through why that's important in a 100-page analysis, of course. Well done, Bitwise team. New York Stock Exchange. All right. Again, the pressure's mounting, right? Can the SEC continue to deny some of its favorite institutions on earth, possibly? The banks now coming to them, Fidelity, saying, hey, we'd really like a Bitcoin NFT. It's time. New York Stock Exchange saying it. Who's
ETF?
Against this at this point? What did I say?
NFT.
Oh my God. I got 2 of the letters right, I guess. Yeah. So, I mean, it feels like it's over. Everybody, who doesn't want an ETF at this point?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Who?
Yep.
Gary Gensler might be the only guy.
Yep. Just Gary.
All right. So he'll do it. He'll do it. This is interesting, David. I think this is there's a couple stories about this, but Bitcoin mining crackdown, of course, in China in summer. These miners moved somewhere. Some of them moved to Kazakhstan, I believe, but a lot of them moved to the US. Yep. And so a lot of this mining institution is now US based. What's going on here?
Yeah, the United States of America has the largest share of Bitcoin hash power, clocking in at 35% of all Bitcoin hash power now domiciled in the United States, which is nice because that makes it easier and easier to make the case for adopting Bitcoin into the legal system, the financial system, all the things that have been resisting Bitcoin. The more and more it becomes domiciled in the United States, the more and more United States regulators are happy about that. And more and more infrastructure, like one of the big things that has been allegedly holding the ATF back is that BTC price discovery has been happening offshore. That has been more and more moving onshore. So the more things about Bitcoin that come to the United States, the better. And in the United States, now the #1 domiciled hash rate operator of Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's been holding the NFT back all this time. You know what's cool about this is actually a prediction that Bitcoiners made, and I think they're right about. It's the game theory of like trying to ban Bitcoin in your country. It doesn't work because some other jurisdiction just adopts it and becomes more powerful. So it's to your disadvantage to go and ban cryptocurrency and adoption. Interesting thing is happening with DeFi as well. As China continues to contract its regulation and squeeze its vice grip on DeFi and crypto writ large, it just moves elsewhere, or it goes underground and becomes a secret. And that's China's disadvantage. If the US did the same, it would be to the US's disadvantage. David, interesting story this week in Forbes. I think it was the cover story. I think SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, made the Forbes magazine, Bankman, emphasis on the bank, I guess. The guy's worth $23 billion now, and he made this all in crypto over the past 3 years. So, that takes some doing. But one part of this story that fascinated me was something I'd always kind of expected, but I didn't really go into detail about SBF because, he has me blocked on Twitter, even though I've never interacted with the guy.
Really? I didn't know that.
Did you know that? Are you blocked on Twitter?
I don't think so. Maybe I am.
Might be.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've never interacted with SBF. I'm fairly nice on Twitter. I don't I don't get into scuffles very often. And I'm blocked. But that's aside the point. Interesting thing.
Oh yeah,
about,
I'm blocked.
You're blocked too?
I'm blocked. Yep.
Well, you obviously said something to him.
Oh yeah,
and it got us both blocked.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from the article. Bankman-Fried is no crypto evangelist. He's barely even a believer. He's a mercenary, dedicated to making as much money as possible. He doesn't really care how, solely so that he can give it away. He doesn't really know to whom or when. Okay, that makes sense to me. It all makes sense. There are people who are in crypto for the mission. There are other people who are in it because they're mercenaries and they're trying to make the most amount of money possible and then leave. They don't actually believe in the values that we talk about in Bankless, or they value those things very loosely. What they prioritize is making the most money possible. Maybe if you give SBF the benefit of the doubt, he's going to give it all away, and that would be an act of altruism, and that would be a great thing. Possibly. Not a great thing for crypto. At the end of the day, David, I believe many of these people are short-term rent extracting entities. I believe some of the crypto banks will end up being that way as well. And I do believe in this industry, okay? Right? You can make money in this industry, and that's fantastic. I hope we all make lots of money. There's tons of opportunity. We should make money where we can, but we should not sacrifice our values in order to make that money. I am here for a larger purpose than that, and I think many of you listening are. But it's important to note that not everyone else is. And I don't judge SBF. I appreciate that transparency, okay? It's not my life. like not my life choice. We're going a different path. Many of you are going a different path. You're here not just for the money, you're here for the greater purpose of crypto, which is to decentralize the world, to create a better open money system for our kids and for our grandkids. Hopefully to unscrew all the broken institutions and protocols that are so freaking screwed up right now. That's why you're here, maybe. Some people aren't, okay? But like, what pisses me off is when people they go to him for guidance on the layer 2 or the layer 1 of choice, for instance, right? SBF's backing of Solana, quite frankly, for me, is a huge turnoff of Solana, right? Okay, so a mercenary backs your project?
Right,
That's not what we want. Who cares?
Right. The self-admitted non-believer of the values and drivers of what makes crypto is backing Solana. Like, no comment after that. Like, you take that for what it is.
Let's move on. Well, you know what, SBF, you should unblock us and you should come on the podcast and we should discuss it. Mm-hmm. And we should talk about.
Turns out I'm not blocked. It's just you. It's just you.
Oh, it's just me. Okay.
Yeah, it's just you.
Thanks for that. Just me. You know what's interesting? This ties into our earlier conversation. Senator Lummis actually just disclosed a Bitcoin buy of $100,000. You
Big
learn
moves.
about crypto, you get
Big
bullish.
Moves. Yeah. Yeah, right. I mean, Senator Lummis has always been bullish. He was the first senator to put laser eyes on. So she's always been a bullish individual. But I mean, don't stop buying.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting though, right? It's like the question of does that bias you or not? It's a longer discussion. Is people think that no one in Congress should actually own stocks. Mm-hmm. I'm like, right. I don't know what.
Okay, so cool. You're just going to drive away all of Congress so they can be wealthy elsewhere?
I guess, right? I mean, stocks are America's savings account. You want them to put their money in the bank. Like what you're asking them to. Right. I don't understand. Anyway, longer discussion. Maybe there's a debate there at some point in time. Sorare is under investigation as a gambling platform. What does that mean, David?
Yeah. So Sorare is that fantasy soccer platform, also expanding into other fantasy leagues as well. And so because you can make predictions about the future outcome of things and make money off of that, they are being deemed a gambling platform by regulators. Statement in response to this by Sorare that says, we are very confident Sorare does not offer any forms of regulated gambling. This has been confirmed by expert legal opinions at every stage since the company was founded. So something to watch. No real breakaways other than that. We'll see what unfolds.
All right, we're going to burn through these next ones. A16Z, they are coming to Washington and pushing crypto policy. Big venture capital firm. They have some connections behind them. Yep. The cavalry is riding into DC. I guess that's what that means. And I hope they're able to convince some people.
Stripe is hiring for crypto, which is neat. Stripe, the payments company, the company that disrupted a bunch of other payment providers by just something like 10 lines of code, is now trying to build the future of Web3 payments. So if you want to work at Stripe and you want to work in Stripe crypto, go apply, I guess.
Do this one too.
Yeah. Oh, Alchemix. Yeah. Alchemix says out of the Twitter account, the future isn't written in stone, but rather arises from the cumulative blood, sweat, and tears of dreamers on a mission. We proudly present our roadmap to transmute Alchemix and DeFi along with it. Get a sneak preview of the future in our article. TLDR, Alchemix V2 is coming. Also, tune into that conversation with Scoopy Triples on the Bankless YouTube. It's coming sometime this weekend. And also take a peek under the hood as what's coming in this document that they have.
Very cool. Last one for the week. Report in that BlockFi, they released a credit card. Their customers spend at a rate 5 times of other legacy traditional credit card holders. So what's interesting to me about this story...
It's because they all got crypto rich.
Okay, but what's interesting to me about this story is when this is about the time where the banks wake up and they're like, oh, all the crypto people that we kicked off of our banking system, we didn't support, we didn't provide service for. Oh, our time instead supporting the wealthy and the rich. These crypto people are rich now. Mm-hmm. And they're going to start trying to incorporate crypto back into the banking fold. And crypto's just going to be yeah, basically. And crypto's just going to be nah, we don't need you guys. See ya. Mm-hmm. I'm closing my Wells Fargo account.
Mm-hmm. Going
forever.
Bankless. Yep.
Going bankless. BlockFi is not bankless, but it's on that path.
Yeah, it's yeah, right. Enough said.
Guys, we'll be right back with the takes of the week. But before we do, we want to thank the sponsors that made this episode possible.
Matcha, everyone's favorite DEX aggregator, has just launched an open beta for gasless trading. So if you're trading more than $5,000 in common ETH and wrapped Bitcoin pairs, then your gas fees on Matcha are free. And that's why you should be using Matcha. Matcha routes your orders across all the various DeFi exchanges on Ethereum, Polygon, Binance Smart Chain, and gives you the best possible price without any trading fees or unnecessary slippage. Matcha has smart order routing that splits your orders across multiple liquidity sources if Matcha sees that it gets you better pricing. Trading on Matcha is super easy because it pools the liquidity for me into a single and easy to use platform, and has even saved me multiple times from accidentally picking the wrong DEX to trade on and getting a bad price. Matcha also allows you to make limit orders on chain so you can set and forget your DeFi trades, and they will go through automatically while you're away. So when you're making a trade, head over to matcha.xyz/bankless, connect your wallet, and start getting some of the best prices and most liquidity when you trade your crypto assets. Alchemix is one of the coolest new DeFi apps on the scene. It introduces self-paying loans, allowing you to spend and save at the same time. Deposit the DAI stablecoin into the Alchemix vault in order to get an advance on the interest it generates. Borrow up to 50% of the total amount of your deposited DAI in the form of ALUSD stablecoin. Here's the craziest part. The loan pays itself back and you cannot be liquidated. Unlock your asset's potential in the ultimate DeFi savings account. And brand new to Alchemix is the ETH Vault, where you can deposit ETH into the application, borrow ALETH against your deposits, while having your advance gradually paid back over time. V2 is rapidly approaching, which will allow for even more collateral types, plus a variety of yield strategies to choose from. Harness the power of Alchemix at alchemix.fi. That's ALCHEMIX.fi. Follow Alchemix on Twitter at AlchemixFI and join the Discord to keep up to date with Alchemix V2 and to get involved in governance.
All right, guys, we are back with the takes of the week. David, let's start with this hot take from David Hoffman.eth at Trustless State. Great guy. All DAOs are ultimately steps to become digital nations. I feel like you said something like this earlier in the episode. What did you mean?
Yeah. I think the logical conclusion of digital organizations is to have, your own currency, your own perks, your own infrastructure, your own reason and values for being. I think, what starts off as a DAO, the logical conclusion of where these goes are digital societies, digital civilizations, digital nations in the cloud. So each DAO is its own country, its own digital nation, and it's all just trying to grow its nation together with the community.
And when you say nation, you're talking about a community, right? So these could be tiny nations. Your nation could be 100 people in your DAO, if that's what it is, right? Or it could be, and you could be part of multiple nations as well.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. Just each one is its own civilization with its own purpose, and is going to grow its nation as much as it can.
Well, that's why we call it the Bankless Nation, don't we?
Who's this guy?
He's a turtle, so he's got to be someone important. Okay.
Definitely not.
Got to listen to him.
Anyways,
do you want to read it?
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
Comment.
This Turtle Man says, this isn't the 1990s for crypto. This is the 1790s. We've just written our own constitutional protocols, and we get to build our digital nations. Hey, digital nation.
Yeah, I just think, and somebody should write an article about this. I just need to school up on my U.S. history before I feel confident writing an article about this. But I feel like this is very much just at the kind of the end of the Renaissance, sort of that time period where revolutions were happening, right? So existing autocracies and tyrannies were being called into question, and people set out for freedom. It reminds me of the early American Republic and the founding fathers of the American Republic. I mean, they were learned people. They sort of knew what they were doing, but they were in their early 20s, man. Many of them, some of them were 19. Alexander Hamilton was 21 years old or something, right? In the revolution. When they came to write this document, this protocol for governing a new nation state, that's exactly what they were doing, right? They were writing a new protocol. And I feel like that's what we're doing in crypto right now. And we're at the very early stages of it. We have the skeleton of this set of decentralized protocols, and now we're starting to build everything on top of it. Unlike the analog world, this is going to happen so much faster. All right. So, we've done the revolution part. I guess that was the Bitcoin. Now we've written some of these core constitutions, and we're going to, spin through the 1800s and 1900s. And pretty soon, I think crypto is going to have an economy that rivals the largest nation state economies in the world. But that's kind of what we're building, is this new, you called it a digital nation, a new digital nation for freedom of expression, for property rights. So it's the 1790s. It's not the 1990s. That's the take.
Very in line with the whole crypto renaissance concept that we had that one podcast on. The 1990s trope, just for people who don't want to miss that, the line is that, we are going through the evolution of the internet, but now we're doing it for crypto. So people say, oh, we're in the early 90s of the internet evolution. And that's what Ryan is referring to.
And I've said that before too, to be fair. I think that's a good analogy too.
Both are true.
Both
are true. Yeah. But what you're saying is the whole, we're at the genesis of a nation take is less appreciated, and that's why it's a take.
Agreed. Tim Swanson. So, okay, well, actually, this is a take that Vitalik Buterin had, so maybe we should go straight to the source. I'm going to read it. This is a Reddit post he made. I think this was on something about Bukele. So somebody was speaking out against Bukele and his support of Bitcoin and Bitcoiners' support of him. This is, of course, the president of El Salvador. And Vitalik Buterin responds and says, nothing unpopular about that opinion. Making it mandatory for business to accept a specific cryptocurrency is contrary to the ideals of freedom that are supposed to be so important in this space. Additionally, this tactic of pushing Bitcoin to millions of people in El Salvador at the same time with almost no attempt at prior education is reckless and risks a large number of innocent people getting hacked or scammed. Shame on everyone. Okay, fine. I'll call out the main people who are actually praising him. Shame on Bitcoin maximalists who are uncritically praising him. And of course, if anyone else had said this would have just passed by the wayside. But because Vitalik Buterin said it, publicly in a forum, I think Bitcoin maximalists went crazy. I saw this headline just about everywhere. Vitalik speaks out, and people angry and calling him a hypocrite and all of these things. So that's what actually happened. David, what's your take on this?
Yeah, the Bitcoiner reaction to this was that this is just Vitalik talking badly about Bitcoin and being upset about Bitcoin adoption, right? And so they really turned it around and made it about Bitcoin, not about the authoritarianism of Bukele, which is exactly what Vitalik is talking about, right? Deflecting the whole authoritarian thing. It's no, Vitalik, you just don't want Bitcoin to be adopted because you have bias against it and you want Ethereum to be adopted, which is completely beside the point. We saw Alex Gladstein, who I've had my tussles with on Twitter because I think he is a Bitcoin maximalist hiding behind a human rights advocate in disguise. And he says on Twitter, Andres didn't even bother criticizing Bukele's human rights record. Vitalik's harsh words were against Bitcoin adoption because he doesn't like Bitcoin, not because he cares about El Salvador. That's what Vitalik's point is, that he literally is only caring about El Salvador and Bitcoiners aren't, which kind of just proves the point.
It totally proves the point. You know what? They're also totally wrong about Vitalik. If this had been the Ethereum community and this was ETH in its stead, no question in my mind, Vitalik would have been calling out ETH and probably 10 times as harshly as this. And, much more publicly about the same sort of thing. So people who think this is just bag bias or anti-Bitcoinerism, they don't know Vitalik. And, they're just spinning this for their own narrative. So I think it's a fair point from Vitalik. I don't know. What do you think about it, David? What do you think about Bukele's move? And this whole Bitcoin adoption thing? Is this actually good for the people of El Salvador? Is this even good for Bitcoin?
We asked this same question to Nick Carter when we had him on the State of the Nation to help unpack this El Salvador news. And he, I think, said it right, where he said it, this is a fair critique. This is a fair criticism. And so there are some Bitcoiners out there, good ones like Nick Carter, who I think are on the right side of this whole debate. And while the cool thing about what El Salvador did is they went from one legal currency to two legal currencies.
That's cool.
That's one more option. But what they could have done is just removed the one legal currency at all and had zero legal currencies and make them all legal. And that is more in line with the Ethereum ethos, right? Pick your own currency. There's a bajillion tokens on Ethereum. You can pick whatever one you want. You want USDC, you want RAI, you want DAI, what do you want? Pick your favorite. And so opening up more freedoms rather than just adding Bitcoin, I think is the right approach here. And on that note, Vitalik tweeted out in sometime in 2017, something along the lines of like, and this was in the middle of the ICO mania where there were just like terrible ideas getting funded, a bunch of money thrown around. And he tweeted out something along the lines of like, if this is all that crypto is, which is token speculation, I'm out of here. And like, when I read that tweet, I was like, oh God, like he's serious. Like he's actually going to leave.
Oh, and I remember the comments, David.
I got scared.
Everyone was angry at Vitalik. Like you're gonna pop the market. Like what are you doing? Like why are you saying this? Everyone was angry.
Right. Yeah. But no, if Ethereum went against Vitalik's ethos and values, he'd be out. He'd just leave.
All of us should be like that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
This is not protocol maximalism. This is values maximalism.
Yep.
And Anyways, good take.
There was a take.
Aaron Wright. What does he say? Blitzscaling. Okay. In Web3, blitzscaling will be replaced by good vibes and community building. Don't underestimate the impact and value capture of a well-coordinated community. This term vibes, David, good vibes. I heard you say it often in the episode you did with Peter Pan, who is a real person, with Layer Zero. And what does good vibes actually mean? Because people hear that and they're like, what, like you talking about like you go into a party, you're just feeling good about things. What are you actually doing? What are you building? Where's the work that's getting done?
So like the metaphor that we used in the Layer Zero podcast was like a DJ, their job is to establish a vibe, right? And like have that be like a call and response with a crowd, right? And then they want to generate a vibe and then sustain that vibe throughout the life of the party. You have something, there's a cradle of life here, and you want to sustain that vibe. And these same vibes are defined in circles of friends. You and your 5 friends. The reason why you guys are all friends is because you guys have a vibe. Company culture that is good is a vibe, and you want to carry that vibe of ambition and progress. And I said this in the DAO Season 2, the Bankless DAO Season 2 launch, that all a DAO really is a vibe. And we also talked about on the gaming panel that we just had, that the gamification, like what GameFi is, or the intersection of crypto gaming, is that gaming is becoming a little bit more like work because you can make money, but work is also becoming a little bit more like gaming. And vibe isn't just play. A vibe is a feeling. It's an emotion. And when you have a DAO with a bunch of people in it that are all vibing, that is the energy that upholds a vibe. And so it's some combination of work and play. You need to work because you need to generate economic resources because you've got to put food on the table. And once you have food on the table, you can then play, which is establishing the vibe. And so blitzscaling, this is this Web 2 verb, which is like, can you scale out your Facebook or MySpace as fast as possible? Aaron Wright says blitzscaling will be replaced by good vibes and community building, because if what we are doing here in the crypto world is to do anything, is to allow the world to just vibe more. And I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and to your point, I think earlier that you made, people think that when you're vibing, you're not working. But like if you're vibing well, you're working, right?
Yeah.
And work and vibe kind of equal the same thing. So...
Which is why people love the Bankless Friday weekly roll-up, because all we are doing is vibing for an hour and a half.
You know what? This isn't work? This isn't work to you?
No, not at all.
Do you know, I guess it's all about economic vibes. That's what we've created in crypto.
Economic
That's what
vibes.
DAOs are.
That's a great way to put it. Economic vibes.
Here we go. Okay, Zeneca says, there's one thing all the most successful NFTs projects have in common. And what is that one thing, Zeneca? We need to know. Time. That's it. Is it that simple, David? Just time? That's all NFTs need?
Yeah, so what he's saying is that NFT artists and NFT creators, they need to balance scarcity, right? You need to issue NFTs because that's how you make money, but you can't issue 1 million of them because then each one's worthless, right? So what Zeneca is saying is that NFTs are going to be valued by some function of the time that an artist puts into that NFT. And that is what makes these NFTs scarce, right? Like you only have so much time in your life. You only have so much like skill and labor and time you can commit towards an NFT. And so NFTs are going to be, art basically is going to be valued as a function of how much time an artist put into the NFT.
There you go. All right, next take. What was this? Somebody got hacked by a pirate? What's happening here? Just tell me what's happening.
This is just something you will only ever see in crypto. And so Robert Miller says, imagine being hacked for $1 million and having to negotiate with someone role-playing as a pirate to get it back. And he has a screenshot of somebody's comment in Discord, who apparently is the guy that Black Hat attacked this protocol. And so Captain Hook is in the Discord and goes, ahoy, I feel bad about plundering your vessel and would like to talk about returning some treasure chests. Would you mind me accepting a matey offer, friend request, so we can discuss?
This is the hacker saying this to him?
This is the hacker just acting like a pirate and saying like, hey, I stole your money. If you want it back, send me a friend request.
That is hilarious. The best.
That's hilarious.
So how did this resolve? Did he get his money back, or did you have to pay the pirate? It doesn't even matter how it
doesn't even matter.
I mean, it matters to Robert, but that story is hilarious. Sorry for your pirate troubles, Robert. All right, what's this take?
Yeah, I had this tweet earlier today. I just noticed that you know how like global supply chains are broken. Like,
yeah, I do.
There's just like deflationary goods everywhere, and so I say global supply chains are broken and can't deliver physical goods. Meanwhile, NFT volumes are breaking records. Coincidence? I'll just leave that up to the listener.
Sorry, kids. Daddy's getting you NFTs for Christmas this year because the supply chain is broken. Did you know they just presented, or they're just like recommending a new Christmas czar in the US to help fix this? There's like $1 trillion in products that won't make it in time for the Christmas season the US wants. So they're trying to figure out a way to appoint someone to go take care of this. So you might actually be right. Maybe there is some like boom coming to NFTs because we switch from the physical into the digital. What are things after all? What do we really need when we have the essentials, right? You know, we're looking for some status. We're looking for some fun, some collectibles. Maybe NFTs hit all of those boxes for your Christmas gift wish list. I don't know.
Like I'm a little bit like facetious about like, oh, you don't have your physical goods, you got to buy NFTs. But I also like the broader commentary is we're moving into the digital world. Like physical stuff is hard now apparently, but you know what's becoming easier? Digital stuff.
It's good. I mean, that could be good. That could be good for a lot of things. Could be good for the environment. Could reduce consumption. I don't know. Really. What are you excited about though, David? That time of the week.
Oh, what do you think, man? So I volunteered for the Andrew Yang campaign, for the 2020 election campaign. Sadly, he did not get elected president. But I remember going to his Seattle event in Gasworks Park, shaking his hand in 2019. I have a little clip of me just shaking his hand, taken by my buddy Michael Wong. And then in 2021, I get him on the podcast, right? It's just kind of like a nice A to B. Like 2019, just volunteering for the campaign. 2020, getting him on the podcast. So that was a nice little like life check mark. And I have to tip of the hat to you, Ryan, for actually getting out there and scheduling that with him.
Hey, so that was awesome. And that was all because of, I think, the Bankless community is because we actually have people that listen to the show and watch the show. And so we are getting like large, politicians with a following to come on the show. We are getting like lots of different names who would never have previously known that David and I existed or cared about crypto to come on the show. So it's all thanks to you guys as well. And what an exciting episode, man. Big milestone for us. And fantastic episode too. So I feel like we've shilled it enough, guys. If you're a premium member, you can listen to it now. If not, on Monday, the episode drops. And let's just say Yang has some good things to say about crypto. And we might have a politician in our camp to help us fight this fight, which is what we've been wanting for. I don't care if it comes from the right or the left, right? Crypto, remember what we said last time? If we get them to adopt crypto protocols, then they adopt crypto values. So we win in the end. And that's what the mission is, to get them to adopt crypto protocols.
100%. There's that line about like, don't meet your heroes, in the sense that like, your hero, you have some vision about who your heroes are in your head. And then when you meet them, you realize that that's not actually who they
live
are.
Up to it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was not true about Andrew Yang. He is the guy that he advertises himself to be.
Yep. Meet your heroes. Have podcasts with your heroes whenever possible.
Just overall, have good heroes.
Have good vibes with your heroes.
Have good vibes with your good heroes. Yeah.
Economic vibes with your heroes. This is getting weird. I don't know where this is going next.
Ryan, what are you excited about?
Hester Peirce. I mean, she crushed it. And, we already went over kind of the speech, and she quoted Bankless, which was, I think, huge for us. And, another great thing that happened this week. And I think for me, it was just another reminder. So often we kind of paint regulators as kind of like, the evil regulators, like, we are the mannequins, they are the puppeteers, they just, pull the strings. And no, these are people. Like, these are real human beings. These are people. They're just like us, okay, except they're regulators. Many of them are caught inside of the system, okay? And they're not machines. I mean, this goes back to like, what are we fighting for at the end of the day? We're fighting for hearts and minds. We're fighting to convince people in government that crypto is a valuable thing and that it matters and that it's good for the country and that it's good for the world and that it's good for our fellow citizens. And so, I mean, that's just a reminder to me. I think that's just huge. She quoted us from a weekly roll-up is really cool. And I think just to humanize the people in government, I mean, is an important thing for us to do because it allows us to focus on our mission. And that mission always was, and it will continue to be, a battle for hearts and minds. If we win the hearts and minds, we cannot lose this crypto revolution, this crypto battle. If we do lose, it's because we haven't convinced enough people. It's because crypto hasn't done enough good in the world to make them believe in our narrative. And that was just a reminder for me. So cool thing. It was cool.
It is very cool. And you talk about how it's important to humanize these regulators because they're humans too. And I think one of the cool things about Hester Peirce's speech is that she was trying to humanize crypto people, right?
Yes.
They're not shadowy super coders, Elizabeth Warren. Like, I'm just a guy. Like, I feel like a kid sometimes. Like, stop calling me a shadowy super coder. Like, to me, I don't like it.
It'd be awesome, though. Are you going to dress like that for Halloween? Shadowy super coder?
I'm going to dress like my CryptoPunk.
Oh, really? Oh, that's right. Spoiler.
Yeah.
Is that happening? God, I got to
totally.
get together my...
yeah, because you can't be a turtle, can you?
Hey.
Wait,
is that dare?
Ninja Turtle? Is that where you're going to be? Am I just creating?
We don't know
thinking
yet.
of your Halloween costume right now for you?
I might try to resemble my. That means I'm smoking a cigarette. I have a hat on. What else am I turtle?
You don't smoke cigarettes.
No, if I want to be like my turtle, I do. Apparently. All right, guys. Let's get to the meme of the week. What is the meme of the week? What are we looking at here?
Let's see it, Ryan.
Right-click save.
Right-click savers, yeah. So people who are taking pictures of art at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And this reminds me of one of my friends that I saw on my Instagram story who was taking a picture of a Fidenza at the Texas Art Blocks conference. And so I just sent her a message like, you are literally right-click saving a picture of a right-click save. Just go download the Fidenza.
Yeah. It gets very meta, but like this is human culture, right?
Yep.
You know, this is what we do. We take pictures of things. It's a good example though, just because you took a picture of that, is that Van Gogh?
Yeah,
on the
Starry
Nights?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just because you took a picture of Starry Nights doesn't mean you actually own Starry Nights,
right.
Okay?
Right.
Like it doesn't work like that. And everyone in the museum knows that is the case.
Right.
And I think right-click saving is dead. We've talked about that before, but it's obviously true in NFTs as well. That's it, man. Wrapping up. ETH is risky. DeFi is risky. Bitcoin is risky. You could lose what you put in. None of this has been financial advice. But we are headed west. We are on the journey. Let me quote Hester Peirce now from her speech. This is the frontier. It's not for everyone, but we're glad you're with us on the bankless journey. Thanks a lot.
Hey, we hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, head over to Bankless HQ right now to develop your crypto investing skills and learn how to free yourself from banks and gain your financial independence. We recommend joining our daily newsletter, podcast, and community as a Bankless Premium subscriber to get the most out of your Bankless experience. You'll get access to our market analysis, our alpha leaks, and exclusive content, and even the Bankless token for airdrops, raffles, and unlocks. If you're interested in crypto, the Bankless community is where you want to be. Click the link in the description to become a Bankless Premium subscriber today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for in-depth interviews with industry leaders, Ask Me Anythings, and weekly roll-ups where we summarize the week in crypto and other fantastic content. Thanks everyone for watching and being on the journey as we build out the Bankless Nation.